Okay, our last tutorial is going to discuss how to get that depth, that quality depth into the body of your talk. And there's a couple different ways that you can go about this. They're all fine to me. But let's go under the assumption that your first speech was on mental health. And your 3 points were causes, symptoms, and treatments. That's well and good. What I am giving you the option of doing, and what many students do, is to go back to your outline and look at the 3 points that you gave me that you spoke to and find one point that you'd like to go deeper on. So instead of going 3 points out like this, you could see where if I went causes, symptoms, and treatments, and I looked at it and I said, you know, I'm just going to focus on treatments. I want to know what kind of treatments there are. You'll already see how now you've narrowed your focus, and as you add depth, you're actually going deeper than going out laterally like this. You're now going down. You're focusing yourself because you're just going to say my whole speech is just going to be on treatments. And that can lead you then into your research where you can discuss the different types of treatments, whether they be holistic treatments, pharmaceutical treatments, group therapy treatments, individual treatments, self treatments, whatever you find. But you can see how focusing your attack here to one area is going to force you then to go deeper. All right? Instead of 5 minutes talking about the three areas, you can give me 8 minutes just on treatments. And now you've achieved some quality depth. So that's one option for you to look at here. The other option is to go back to your three main points and simply say to yourself, I'm going to make an effort to go deeper on each one of these 3 points. And going back to our original example, I could go to causes and then commit yourself to 3 or 4 minutes on some of the causes of mental health issues. Then go to the symptoms and commit yourself again to doing the research and going into some of the medical and clinical areas to go, how can I add more quality depth to the symptomology of how things develop and what are the warning signs and over time how do things get manifested and look for research, look for studies, look for expert opinions and bring them in. Remember, the statistics and the sources are not just there to give me 6 seconds. They're there for you to build that platform and to walk it out as far as you can to add the quality depth. Okay? Now, you'll notice that the name of this speech is Stats, Sources, and Stories. And I love storytelling. I use it in all my speeches. And for me, and I think for you too, we can see the value immediately because storytelling requires no heavy lifting. Now, when you get into some of the clinical, the technical, the statistical, yes, that can be some heavy lifting because you want to be precise. You want to make sure that you're getting your numbers right and that your facts are right and that the terminology is right and that you're fully explaining all the intricacies that go along to being specific about complex ideas. But when you get into storytelling, it's a bit of easy lifting. And I use it all the time to sort of not only get away from some of that heavier content, but as I've written to many of you, storytelling puts a face on the issue. Storytelling humanizes the issue. And so if we go back to our mental health, and if you yourself have experienced troubles and have been involved with mental health, This is where you can tell your story. And of course, storytelling, when it's in the first person, this happened to me. I know because this is my story. That's another credibility builder, isn't it? But you don't have to be totally tied to it personally. It could be a climate change story where you find the story of someone or some population somewhere that's been affected. Okay? So it's stats, sources, and stories. And because in the outline, I kind of have it as stat and source number one, stat and source number two, and then story, you may think that what I'm telling you to do is to follow that one, two, three. But really, in reality, you can weave a story in anywhere you want. Okay? If you go back to our example, you may have a story about what caused your own struggles with mental illness, looking back. What happened to me that I can relate to some of the causes that I discussed? You could go back and tell a story that relates to some of the symptomology that you may have shown or that you may have seen in a close relative or a loved one or a friend, you know. You can weave stories all over the place. So please, just because it's in the outline as one, two, three, don't think that it has to be that way. You could start with a story and then get into the more clinical, medical, statistical side of it. Or you could weave them, like I said, in all three. Stories can go anywhere, and that's why they're good, because they allow you to sort of break free from some of that more structured stuff that you want to get correct and be free and tell your story. So I'm looking for that story to humanize your topic, but just remember, it does not have to be last. Some people even start with half of a story and then go into whatever they want to that's a little more technical and then finish with their story. So please think creatively. Think of how you can best insert storytelling so you don't necessarily have this heavy lifting the whole way and then go, oh, finally I can tell my story. You can lighten your load with storytelling, and it really goes a long way to adding that emotional side, that impact that can really make a speech memorable. That's my advice.